Forgiveness is not infinite. It looks like it from the outside. Calm people who never seem to hold grudges, partners who keep showing up after every disappointment, friends who never bring up the old fight. But forgiveness is not a personality trait. It is a finite resource being silently spent. And every person you have ever known who quietly walked away one day did the same thing first. They forgave you one last time without telling you it was the last time. That moment, the one that felt like reconciliation, was actually a closing transaction. And the neuroscience of how the brain decides to stop forgiving is something most people never get to see, until they realize it has already happened to them. It begins early. The first time you hurt someone who genuinely cared about you, they did not even register it as a transgression. Their brain processed it as an outlier, an exception to the pattern they had built of you. This is what psychologists call positive bias maintenance. The mind protects established models of people we love by interpreting bad behavior as situational rather than characterological. You were tired. You did not mean it. You were under stress. Their nervous system did the heavy lifting on your behalf, generating reasons to keep their version of you intact. You probably did not even know forgiveness had occurred, because to them it was not yet forgiveness. It was just understanding. The second time you did something similar, the bias started to flicker. Their brain still defaulted to the protective interpretation, but this time something else activated alongside it. The hippocampus, which handles long-term memory, quietly tagged the event with a weak association. Second occurrence. Not a pattern yet, but a data point. They forgave you faster than you realized, but underneath the forgiveness, a part of their mind started running a background process you cannot see. It was building a tally, and every tally has a ceiling. By the fourth or fifth time, the brain stops doing the protective work. The amygdala starts firing during interactions with you, even when nothing is wrong. They feel a small tightness in their chest before answering your texts. They notice they are bracing instead of looking forward to seeing you. This is not them deciding to be cold. This is their nervous system responding to a learned pattern. The same way your hand pulls back from a stove you once burned it on. They have not consciously labeled you as a problem yet. But their body has, and the body is always the first to know what the mind is not ready to admit. Here's the part most people miss. Somewhere between the 5th and 10th offense, a quiet shift happens that most psychology channels will never explain to you. The person stops hoping you will change. This is not bitterness. It is the death of a specific cognitive function called positive expectancy. When positive expectancy collapses, the brain reclassifies the relationship from active investment to passive maintenance. They are still there. They still answer. They still smile. But internally, the system has switched modes. They are no longer waiting for things to get better. They are simply waiting to see what happens. The last forgiveness is almost never dramatic. It is rarely tied to the worst thing you ever did. Most people imagine the final straw must be enormous, a betrayal, a humiliation, a break of trust so severe it forces a confrontation. The research says the opposite. The final forgiveness is usually triggered by something small, a canceled plan, a dismissive comment, a forgotten promise, something so minor that it should not have mattered. But it landed at the exact moment their nervous system completed a long calculation it had been running silently for years. And in that small, forgettable moment, they crossed a threshold called affective fatigue saturation. Their emotional immune system reached its limit. The cell that processes forgiveness for you specifically died. And from that point forward, it cannot be regenerated. This is why the people who walk away never seem angry. They do not need to be. The work of being upset with you was done long ago in private without your knowledge. By the time they leave, they are not making a decision. They are executing one their nervous system already finalized. And the reason they do not warn you, do not give you a chance, do not have one final argument, is not cruelty, it is biology. They cannot reactivate a system that is already shut down. Asking them to forgive you again is like asking your immune system to reissue antibodies it has stopped producing. The mechanism is gone. If you're watching this, and there is someone in your life who has been quietly different lately, calmer, more patient, less reactive, I'm going to tell you what most people do not want to hear. That is not progress. That is the system shutting down. And by the time you notice the change, the last forgiveness has already happened. You may have already received it. You may have mistaken it for closeness. The transaction is complete. They are not gone yet. But the version of them that fights for you is, the harder truth is this. If you were the one who did the leaving, you already understand everything in this video. You spent your last forgiveness on someone in silence, and they had no idea. They are still texting you, still confused why things feel different, still trying to find the conversation that closed the door, never realizing the door closed quietly in your own head with no announcement at all. Some people stop arguing back, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have already said it all in their head, on their own while you were still talking. That silence has a name and a specific neurological mechanism. That is the next frequency. If this one reached you, stay tuned in.